All right, there was a lot of laughter, and to follow that is going to be tough, but this is going to be a little bit serious, but I'll try to keep it as interactive as possible. So let me start by asking all of you, do you know who this is? Tom Cruise, right? Well, it's not. This is Miles Fisher, aka Deepfake Tom Cruise, who is a look-alike of Tom Cruise. And he put up videos for months after months using technology that made him look exactly like the actor and made him sound like the actor. This, of course, he did in a bid to draw attention to what we are dealing with today in the digital world. Maybe a few of you who may have seen these videos or other deepfake videos are able to make out the difference and call out a deepfake. But what about your parents or your grandparents? Not so sure now? This is where we come in, journalists and news publishers. And the most important tool in our arsenal is trust. Hello everyone, I'm Mehak Kasbekar, and for the next few minutes, I'm going to talk to you about building trust in a digital world. Earlier, only a few people had access to information and to be able to disseminate that information. These were newspapers, television channels, authors who wrote books, and so on and so forth. But in the digital world, the access to information is at everybody's fingertips now. And the providers of this information, that's why, have multiplied. So anyone with a smartphone, an opinion, and access to the internet is able to also give you information. This is often garbed as news. So while the digital age has given democracy in terms of giving out information, and it's not in the hands of a few people, it has also thrown up complexities of echo chambers, biased news, agenda-driven news, and of course, fake news as well. So trust has become the biggest casualty for publications today. And a society that doesn't trust its media is vulnerable to manipulation, misinformation, and division. Trusted journalism creates an environment where facts are valued over false narratives, and dialogue is driven by reason versus rhetoric. So how do we build trust with our viewers, and what are the best practices? There's a hint here. You, as consumers of news and information online, play a major role. Let's look at this video first.
गुड़गांव में एक्सपोर्ट कंपनी में किसी ठेकेदार ने गार्ड के गाल पे मारा था मेरे सामने। बस उस दिन मैंने कसम खाई थी मैं गार्ड में नौकरी नहीं करूँगा।
आपको गुस्सा नहीं आया कभी?
गुस्सा आता है लेकिन क्या कर सकते हैं।
This video has lakhs of views online across social media and has even won an award. But why did the viewers choose to believe this video, choose to interact with it? There could be people who we interviewed who could have been actors, or it could have been agenda-driven. They thought, which is the viewers thought, this was authentic because they trusted us to give them the information in the most unbiased manner. And how did we build this trust? The first thing to building this is building accuracy. And for this, facts are both your and my best friends. Accuracy and fact-checking are the first steps, not just the who, what, where, when, how, but also double and triple checking facts, even if it is a sentence as simple as, is Mangalore a hilly town or a beach town? The two-source confirmation method, which basically is that if one source is giving you a particular information, can you check the same thing with another independent source? What this does is it will also enable us to give the viewers, you, a depth and a different layer of perspective to you. But where are we checking these facts, or where is the news source that you read checking these facts from equally matters? Is it a newspaper which is widely published and makes very few mistakes? Or is it an online blog which has a clear leaning and is more about opinions versus actually facts? Is it a story that says sources say without naming them? And all of this is also your job, remember, as a viewer, to check when you are taking this information on whether the publication that is giving you this, who is it attributing this information to, and is it clearly attributed? This way, you will know that you have all the information and are able to form a right opinion, or an informed opinion, or an informed choice. Let's take, for example, when stories are evolving very, very fast. And remember, once a piece of information is out there in the public domain, you can't do anything else about it. It's there forever. So especially while reporting something which is still evolving and changing, we do use things like more than, at least, over. So remember, once we've put that information out there, it will still hold for as long as that piece of information is floating in the digital world. Let's talk a little bit about transparency now. How are we transparent with our viewer? For example, if a video is circulating online of a public figure, and you don't know where the genesis of this video is, where does it come from, what date it is shot at, who was it shot by, what do? Everybody is out there, they've picked it up, they've already made headlines, they've pushed it out there. Well, if you come across a publication that says, this is the video, we think it was dated this and it's come out, this is the person speaking in it, but we do not know the genesis of it. For example, where was it shot? Or who was it first put online by? You know that the publication is giving you all the information it has at that point in time for you to be able to make that informed decision, and you know that it is being transparent with you with all the information that it has. Let's look at this story as an example. We had an influencer who took to her channel and put out her side of an incident which had happened. In that, she said that she was punched on the nose and was bleeding by a delivery agent. The story went viral really quickly. Everybody in the online world had sort of picked it up. It got millions of views. People started talking about it. Television channels picked it up. And there was a lot of pressure, so much so that even the police had gone ahead and arrested the delivery person. We chose not to put out the story till we had spoken to all parties concerned. So we waited, we got in touch with the delivery person, heard his side of the story, got in touch with the company, got their side of the story, and then put all that information out in an unbiased manner together and published it. And that is what got not just the views, but the engagement, but we got it right, because the story did turn overnight with the sentiment. And this, I think, is what transparency is all about. The next is building objectivity. If I ask you a question, do you think you're a biased person? A lot of you I can't see, but I can see few people nod. So yes, the news is that we are all biased. There is no human being on this earth who is not biased. Bias unknowingly creeps in. It depends on where we are born, who we are born to, who our parents are, what their leanings are, depends on the pop culture we consume, the experiences we go through in school, in college, and the list is really endless. How then are journalists supposed to make sure that these biases that they may unknowingly have do not translate into a story? So for this, we take a step back. First, we give them training to make sure that you know possibly to be aware of certain biases that you may have. Once you're aware of those biases, you have to do your best to make sure that it does not translate into anything that you're writing or speaking in the public domain as a journalist. We circle back to facts. Facts, remember, are your and my best friends to be able to make sure that no bias unknowingly creeps in to what we are putting out there. Here's a simple example. It's not very complicated. When we are talking about public figures, for a journalist, maybe when they're writing a story, it could be somebody who they really love, admire, love their movies, or it could be that they don't like the person, they don't like the public statements that the person has made. But our job as journalists is to make sure that both those facets come together and we put it out there so that you, the viewer, can make up your mind on what you think is right and make an informed decision and choose to interact with that piece of content accordingly. The next is accountability. Is the news source you're following able to take accountability if they get it wrong? No person can get it right 100% of the time, all the time, no matter how hard they try. So there will be mistakes that will be made. Once that mistake is made, how does an organization react to that mistake tells you whether the organization is accountable and how it deals with that. So for example, when you do make a mistake, does the organization own up to it? Does it run a correction? While running a correction, is it clearly and promptly displayed as a story is? How swiftly does that correction come in? Is it 2-3 weeks after a story is published when everything is died down and sort of buried? Or is it immediately, probably sometimes minutes after a story is published? Does it give you the information of what exactly was said that was wrong and then what the correct information is? Also, it is very important that internally an atmosphere of no fear is created when a journalist makes a mistake. Remember, errors are teaching moments, both for the organization and helps in building trust with the viewer. It is important that it be collaborative, the correct training is given so that this, for reporters becomes a perfect score, which in this case, of course, is 0. Next is building competency. Is the journalist the best person to say maybe decode a union budget? What about giving you healthcare advice? Probably not. Building competency is about journalists knowing when is the right time to get an expert in and not them being the people who are giving you that information. So bringing in experts to give information without actually being the expert in the online world and saying, I know best how to do this, is what will help build trust with the viewer. Remember what kind of experts that an organization brings in to give you that information plays an equally important role. Somebody in the public domain, the public statements that the person has made, has it stood the test of time? Are they equipped, are they trained for something like that? Is there a conflict of interest, for example, when you're bringing in an expert, and whether that has been very clearly stated to the viewer? All of this is important. And remember, even if you get an expert for a time when all they're going to say on the camera is, we actually don't know why so-and-so is happening. So one is when we had a lot of videos of a lot of young people who were dying of heart attack, doing various, odd chores. We chose to get somebody to show us how to do CPR versus sort of the journalist explaining, here are 5 ways you can do CPR, right? Similarly, getting a public health expert during COVID to actually go ahead and say, I don't know why the testing is so-and-so, or has it fallen, is a much better way than just saying, okay, here are 5 sets of data, we think this is what happens, and create an opinion. Even if the public health expert is actually saying, we really don't know the reason to something like that, because you do have an expert who is telling you that. This is really, really important and very close to my heart specifically, empathy and respect. Let me tell you a story. It was the COVID lockdown. We had a young woman who reached out to one of our reporters. She had gone partying during the COVID lockdown. And unfortunately, her mother caught COVID from her after that and passed away. She had reached out to us to give a story so that she could alert others and learn from the mistake probably that she had done. We interviewed her, we put the story up. We were very, very careful that this was not seen from a blame perspective for her. She was very keen to put the story out. We did that, and she got a lot of hate online. She called up the reporter in the middle of the night and said, I don't want to do this, it's too much, there's a lot of hate which has come our way. Now remember, as a publication, we had double-checked everything, we had gotten consent, anything that we had put out over there was not wrong. We chose to take that story down because it is equally important to make sure that the people who, at great cost to perhaps themselves, when they're coming out and speaking and wanting to give information to viewers, we must protect them if they are in physical danger as well. How does an organization refer and use certain terms for people? That will also give you a clue about empathy and respect and how the organization thinks about the information and news that it is giving out to you. What do you think is the right word here for media organizations to use? Okay, sex worker. Unmarried woman. Homemaker. Okay, so these are actually what the Supreme Court of the country has said are okay in using. And the reason for that is, remember, as media, once we start referring to somebody a particular way, society is going to also look at them that particular way. If we are colored, so will you be. And I think it is very, very important to make sure that that empathy and respect is given when you are referring to anybody. So, for building trust, we went through accuracy, we went through transparency, we went through objectivity, we went through accountability, we went through competence, we went through empathy and respect. But all of this has to be done day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, to build that trust. So consistency really is that salt in the meal to build trust that has to be sprinkled all the time to make sure that we are able to keep that trust, not only build it, but able to keep that trust constantly. Remember, trust is the bedrock of journalism. And credible journalists enable a smart society. Thank you so much for having me today.